So, lads, today we're going to be talking about the Indiana Fever after their loss last night against the Golden State Valkyries, and all I'm going to say is that they're in trouble. The Fever are in trouble. Not anything absolutely crazy. It's not like she's going, or it's not like we're done for, or we're not going to make the playoffs. Like, we basically need to lose to the Mystics. It's as simple as that. The Mystics stink. We basically need to lose to the Mystics. If we beat the Mystics, we're going to be in the playoffs. Because all we need is, it's something like, I think Robin Lundberg said it. It's some combination of the Sparks and the Fever. So the Sparks are 18 and 20. They're 2 games behind us. So the Sparks have... Oh shit, the Sparks have 6 games left. So if we win one of our last 4 games, the Sparks need to go 4-2. So it needs to be 4. A combination of a Sparks win, or a Fever win, or a Sparks loss. Once we hit 4 for the rest of the season. And the Sparks have a really tough end, if I'm not mistaken. So the Sparks have... What I have? They face the Storm tonight. So they face the Storm. And again, if the Storm lose to the Sparks, that's good for us. They face the Storm, the Dream. The Wings is probably a gimme. Is it the Dream twice? They face the Storm, the Dream twice, the Mercury, and the Aces. They are not going 4-2. And if they go 4-2, we have to go 1-4, or we have to go 1-3 to end the season. We have to go 1-3. And that includes, that's losing to the Sky or the Mystics. And the Mystics. Because look, the Fever are probably not winning tomorrow. Like I think tomorrow's a given that they're going to lose. Like I'm not too bothered about that game. It's the Friday one that's big. All the Fever have to do is win a game. Realistically, the Fever win one game. The Fever might make the playoffs without winning another game. The problem isn't making the playoffs. The problem is the worst position the Indiana Fever can be in is 8 and get pummeled by the Lynx. Because if the Indiana Fever, because the Connecticut Sun are starting to win a few games, if the Indiana Fever got to 9, they would have the 4th best odds as the number 1 pick. There's a chance that you get, like, this is a 5 or 6 person draft. And the problem is you add 2 expansion teams in, and you go from projected 4th in the draft to 8th as the 8th seed. And the only difference is you got 2 games against the Minnesota Lynx where you got pummeled. And it's going to affect your draft pick, where for the Sparks, they're just giving the Storm a better pick. Ironically, long term, for the Fever, you've given Storm a lottery pick. You've given the team with Baby Go a fucking lottery pick. And if you're the Fever, you give yourself a puncher's chance if you can get into this bracket where it's the Aces, Dream, Valk/Storm or Valk/Storm. If you get into that bracket, you give yourself a puncher's chance coming out of a 4 with that bracket. You do not give yourself a puncher's chance of coming out of a bracket with the Lynx, the Liberty, and the Mercury. Like, can you imagine having to basically get through 2 teams and come out of that versus the Aces who can get got purely because Nalissa Smith can be attacked in every single possession. The playoffs, I think they're significantly weaker than people think in the playoffs. As good as AJ is, as good as Jackie Young is, I think they can be got in the playoffs. Just purely because I think they got that weakness at power forward can be really exploited. I think we see Kia Stokes playing major playoff minutes. And Kia Stokes can't play offense. So I just don't think the Aces are going to be that good. Either way, I think the Fever can come through them. I think the Fever are going to beat the Dream if they face them. I think the Fever are going to beat the Mercury if they face them in a best of 3. I think over 5 games, the Mercury have just too much. And the Mercury shouldn't have more talent than the Fever, especially with how bad Satu's been playing recently. And they don't have more talent than the Fever. They just have a coach that has built a system around their best player, and not a best player has been injured, and a coach that even when the player's there is building their system against their best player. But yeah, it's that you don't want to be in that 8 seed, but if you look at the Storm and the Valks, so we are a half a game back. And we have the tiebreaker over the Storm. We don't have it over the Valks. So the Valks have got 5 games to go, and they have 1 gimme. So they face off against the Liberty, which is a really tough one, but they have the gimme against the Wings. And then they face the Lynx they face the Storm, which they could lose. They face the Lynx during the season, which they could lose. And they face the Minnesota Lynx on the last game of the season, where they face the Lynx bench. So we don't have any of these like Lynx bench games where we just win it if we want to. Like, if we want to, we win that game. It's as simple as that. It was like when the Dream beat the Liberty bench last year, like, with how bad the Dream were. If they want to, they win this game. So all they have to do is beat the Wings. And that team has 23 wins. Yeah, that team goes and has 23 wins with the tiebreaker over the Fever. Which means the Fever, to overtake the Valkyries, have to go 3-1. Which is not easy to do because they're almost certainly going to lose to the Mercury tomorrow night. They then face the Sky and the Mystics, which they should win both of those games. Probably Caitlin Clark back for those. And then you go and face the you then face the Lynx in their second last game of the season. So they're not going to take it easy. They have to play the Valks after. They're not going to bench their players in the second last game of the season. They're not going to do that, especially with all the eyes on that game with Fee's MVP case. They're not going to bench those players. They're going to want to beat the Fever by 40 because it's not their last game of the season. They'll rest them the next game. They're not going to start resting them with 3 games to go. I think it's in Minnesota as well, if I'm not mistaken. It might not. Is it in Minnesota? I don't know. But yeah, and then so the Valks, I think there's a near 0 chance we overtake the Valkyries. I think last night's game cemented the Valkyries ahead of the Fever. Because like the Fever need to go 3-1 and the Valks need to lose all the games they're meant to lose. You've then got obviously you've got the Storm, who the Seattle Storm have got the Sparks, which is a very losable game, the Liberty, the Valks in a tough one. So the Storm have a really, really tough like run-in. So they face this and again, if any of these teams want to win the last game of the season, unless they're playing against another team that needs to win the last game of the season, if you want to win that game, you're going to win that game. And so they have only 3 games left. Sorry, it's the Valks, the Liberty. So they don't actually play on the last night of the season. So there's no gimmies there. So these are 3 tough games. These are 3 really tough games. And the hope is that the Storm go 1-2. The hope is that the Storm go 1-2 here. And if the Storm go 1-2, the Storm have 23 wins, but we have the tiebreak. Which means we can go 2-2 for the rest of the year. If we go 2-2, we tie them and we beat them on the tiebreak because we swept them. Going 2-2 is easier said than done. And that's hoping that the Storm lose to the Valks and lose to the Sparks. And if the Storm lose to the Sparks, I think the Storm are in a bit of form. Like they're 6-4 in their last games. They beat the Minnesota Lynx. This is a team that is built for the playoffs. This is a team that is built for the playoffs. This is a roster that is built for the playoffs. They're built for these type of games. They're built for these one-off games. Skylar Diggins, Gabby Williams, Neka Wumake, Ezzy, Dom Malonga, Erica Wheeler's hooping off the bench. Brittany Sykes, again, they're there. This is a team that's there to win a championship. They're not going to want to fuck about and get the Lynx. They're not going to want to drop to that 9th seed. And I think there might be a world where the 3 teams end on the same record. And if the 3 teams end on the same record, I don't know what way that goes, because have the Storm lost to the Valks yet? Because we swept the Storm and the Valks swept us. So I just need to see, have the Storm swept the Valks? Because if the Storm have swept the Valks and we've all swept each other, then who gets in on the tiebreaker if it's the same record? So like the Storm have to play the Valks one more time this year. The Storm beat the Valks once. No, the Valks have 1 win against the Storm. So no matter what, if it's a 3-way tie, the Storm are there at the end. So that's their best hope. But I think the Storm still go 2-1. Like if the Storm go 2-1, we need to go 3-1 to end the season, which means we need to beat the Lynx in a game that matters. And you know what? That Sky game, I still think we beat the Sky, but that's not an easy win. That is not an easy win. That's probably Caitlin Clark's return. That is probably the Caitlin Clark return game. I think the Sky might push the Angel for all WNBA. I don't think she deserves to make it this year, just because of how bad that team has been, how many games she missed, but they're going to make it a big deal. That game is going to be made a huge deal. And if it's the Caitlin Clark return game versus Angel Reese, you better believe. And the Sky are tough, man. The Sky are so tough with Angel Reese there. As in, they don't win games, but they're not an easy out for anyone. They're not an easy out at all. Like, nearly all their games are close. And the Fever are a notoriously awful team in close games. So if the Sky, who are terrible in close games, like, the Wings beat us in a close game. Like, we are so bad in close games that we lost to the Wings in a close game. That sums it up. That sums up how bad we are in close games. We lost to the fucking Wings in a close game. Shout out Odyssey Sims, because if Odyssey Sims hadn't hit that game winner, I think we probably wouldn't be in the playoff. I wouldn't predict, well, I would predict to make the playoffs, but we'd be guaranteed essentially the 8th seed right now. But yeah, it's not an ideal scenario. Anyway, that's the video. I'll see you guys.